Good morning, Your Honor. I will be arguing that Chuck's conduct was intentional and outrageous, and that it is subject to tort liability for intentional infliction of severe emotional distress to Kathy. The law states that in order to impose liability for intentional infliction of emotional distress, it must have four elements. First, the conduct must be intentional or reckless. Second, the conduct must be extreme and outrageous. Third, there must be a causal connection between the wrongful conduct and the emotional distress. And fourth, the emotional distress must be severe. The fact is, Chuck acted recklessly when he discovered that Kathy told his secret about once having tortured a dog to death. Kathy is a respectful married woman. Chuck knew this, and in the face of such knowledge, Chuck decided to intentionally yell at Kathy in front of everyone at the high school reunion dinner, calling her a senile and a liar. Chuck deliberately disregarded the high degree of probability that Kathy might suffer severe emotional distress out of Chuck's extreme and outrageous conduct, thus intentionally inflicting emotional distress to Kathy. The issue presented here is whether any reasonable person would have known that severe distress could have resulted from Chuck's conduct, and that if that conduct was extreme and outrageous against generally accepted standards of decency and morality to any reasonable person. A substantial similar legal issue is presented on a case precedent of Mary G. Sams versus David Ecclesias, where the Supreme Court of Utah stated, "The best considered view recognizes an action for severe emotional distress when the defendant intentionally engages in some conduct towards the plaintiff, A, with purpose of inflicting emotional distress, or B, where any reasonable person would have known that such would result." The phrase of purposely inflicting emotional distress means that Chuck had a desire to inflict severe emotional distress, and also that he knew such distress was certain to result from his conduct, or that at least he was deliberately disregarding the high degree of probability that an emotional distress will follow from his conduct. The general public purpose for this is to distinguish the truth from the false claims and to distinguish insignificant annoyances from the serious wrong ones. We also would like to distinguish ourselves from the case precedent of William Harris versus Robert Jones, where the Court of Appeals of Maryland stated that the court determined the plaintiff was required to prove that the defendant's conduct was intentional, and that the plaintiff failed to prove that the emotional distress he suffered was severe. The word severe means that Kathy would have had to suffer emotional distress to the point where that conduct was so outrageous in character and so extreme in degree as to go beyond all possible bounds of decency and morality to any reasonable person. And the general public purpose for this is to hold people liable for extreme and outrageous conducts that aggravate beyond the usual circumstances of yelling that will cause severe emotional distress, or at least the high degree of probability that a severe emotional distress will follow from those conducts. Therefore, Chuck intentionally yelled at Kathy in front of everyone at their high school reunion dinner because he knew Kathy was a respectful married woman, and knew that by yelling at her in front of everyone would have or should have known he would potentially cause severe emotional distress to Kathy out of Chuck's conduct. So we find Chuck liable for intentional infliction of emotional distress because Chuck's conduct was intentional and extreme, which caused Kathy to suffer severe emotional distress. Thank you.